As we head into the holiday season, we give you yet another episode of MEC Roundup. This is the sixth edition of this podcast, MEC Roundup, on the Mountain East Conference's website, mountaineast.org. You can follow us on all of our social media pages on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Subscribe to us as well. And as always, you can follow me on Twitter at Taylor_Kennedy7 to know about this podcast, along with just updates about what else is going on within the MEC as well, because I'll be updating you all about that as well. But without further ado, we went double coach last week. We're going to go with a player this week, and we're going to speak with the men's basketball player of the week. And we are joined by none other than Glenville State's very own senior guard, Nick Edwards. Nick, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So how's everything been for you so far, my man? I know the holiday season's right around the corner, the most wonderful time of the year. How's everything been for you?
It's been good. Just really just trying to focus on basketball. And, had to finish out school. We had finals and stuff. So just finishing out the year strong was just really my main focus point.
So, Nick, we're going to go down a lot of different avenues. We're going to talk about your time at Glenville because you are a senior. We're going to talk a little bit about this season as well and then expectations of what's next for you because you are a senior. And we will dabble in that as well. But take me back to the very beginning in your time at Glenville State. How did Glenville State come into the picture, and what attracted you about Glenville State?
So I heard about Glenville. Coach Caldwell hit me up on Twitter. Really, it was after my sophomore year, JUCO. I had a pretty good year. I thought I was going, Division I. I was talking to a lot of Division I schools, but I just wasn't in the plan. So Coach Caldwell hit me up, and just a great opportunity. He told me that I could come to Glenville. He was giving me the keys, the ball would be in my hands, and I could run the team. So it was just a great opportunity for me. It was far away from home, but it was just an opportunity I couldn't pass down. So that's how I ended up at Glenville, really.
Now, for people that don't know, Nick is from Atlanta, Georgia. And Nick, I'll ask you this. I have to ask sometimes just because people out of state don't really know about West Virginia, but had you ever heard of West Virginia prior to coming into the state?
Yeah, I did. I knew about West Virginia University and Marshall because I heard about them. So, yeah, I already knew about West Virginia.
Now, have you kind of embedded the West Virginia culture into your life? Now, I mean, every time you go down to Atlanta, everybody's like, man, what are you doing now? And he's like, hey, it's just a West Virginia thing.
Yeah, I have. It took some time, but because it's different from Atlanta, especially Glenville. It's just quiet, peaceful, so many trees, but I've adapted, the community, they make me feel like family. So it's a great place. I've grown on Glenville. It's grown on me.
Now, I talked to Isaiah Sanders in the first episode of this podcast, and I mentioned to him if he had ever tried or if he has tried a pepperoni roll yet. Have you tried one yet?
I have. I promise I have. It was good. I warmed it up. It was good.
Thank God you said that, because if not, we would have had a serious issue. Oh, man. Now, another thing as well, because I know that there is one in Glenville, is a Tudor's. Now, have you tried Tudor's yet?
I eat Tudor's probably too much, more than I should. Like, it's right down the street, 5 minutes away from us. So I eat the breakfast a lot.
Man, I knew you'd be a good interview. I just knew. I knew. Oh, man. Okay, so cool. So let's talk a little bit more about coming to Glenville and that whole thing. You mentioned how Atlanta is different than West Virginia and the whole Glenville area as a whole. But early on, how did you get comfortable with the environment at Glenville State and also the environment in the state of West Virginia?
Really just, I was just close to a lot of my teammates. A lot of my teammates are from West Virginia. So just sticking with them, they was just, telling me, where some of the spots are, just telling me more about West Virginia. So a lot of, shout out to them, to my teammates. So that's how I really just got comfortable with it.
Okay, so let's talk about your career so far. Because again, I've seen you play a lot of times. You are by far one of the more exciting players to watch in the MEC. And when people don't know about your game and they're trying to learn about you for the first time, they're trying to dissect how you play. Give us a general overview of how you would describe your game personally.
Really just somebody that's going to really just do it all. I'm not somebody that's gonna, maybe score 40, or have a whole bunch of dunks. But if you look at what I do, I fill the stat sheets. I'm a scorer. I feel like I'm a really, really good passer. I play defense. So just really just being an all-around player and just leading my team as a point guard.
I mean, filling up the stat sheet is right on cue because, you look at your last 4 games. I mean, against Alderson Broaddus, season high, 32 points. You follow up the next game against Frostburg State, 22 points. Fairmont State, 23 points. Mm-hmm. And then Villa Marie, 19 points. So you're averaging 18 right now. So, yeah, filling up the stat sheet is nothing new to you. But let's talk about this year's team because you guys are currently sitting about middle of the pack, 5-4 this season, 2-3 in conference play. Mm-hmm. Just I'm going to dissect your brain a little bit. What are you seeing so far from this year's Glenville State team, and where do you think needs the most growth to happen?
Well, one, we just need to realize that this league is really talented. Every team's going to come out and give your best shot, and we had a good year last year, I feel like, but we didn't win. So we need to come in feeling like, nobody's scared of us. They're going to give us our best shot every game. So that's one. And then two, what I feel like we need to work on really is just defense. Like some of the games we lost, like Cal PA, we lost by like 4 or 5 points. Alderson Broaddus, double OT. Just really locking in on defensive end, because some of the games that we lost, if we had just got one, maybe 2 more stops, we would have won the game. So just really defense. That's our main point, just defense.
When you look at the first half of the season, we're pretty much transitioning into the second half of the season now after students get back on the campus following Christmas break. But, mm-hmm. When you look at the second half of the season, do you sort of take on a little bit more of a leadership role now that you're heading into the back half of your career at Glenville State?
Definitely. I mean, I know people looking at us right now probably like, oh, they're 5-4. I thought they were supposed to be, top 4 team in the league. And I tell my teammates and my coaches, like, it's early. It's a 28-game season, so we can fix things, and I know we're going to fix things. So we're looking to come back 2022 and get it rolling.
Staying along the lines of this leadership mentality, who were some people in your life, especially before you stepped on the campus at Glenville State, that really motivated you and sort of showed you the way of being a true leader for not only a team, but in life in general?
I mean, definitely my mom and my dad. They're always just telling me, just lead, not always leading by, telling somebody something, but just leading by example. So I bring that with me onto the basketball court as well. Just not only telling my teammates, hey, do this, but showing them that I can do it. I can't tell them play defense if I'm not playing defense. So just that goes a long way in life, just being a leader.
Let's talk about a guy that you had mentioned earlier, and that's Coach Caldwell. And it seems like anytime you talk to a Glenville State player, past or present, they always talk about his attitude towards his players, especially the fact that, he means a lot to his players and the players mean a lot to him as well. But when you look at your relationship between you and Coach Caldwell, how would you best describe that for people that don't know about the two of you?
I can't really think of one word to describe it, but just, it's not like he's just my coach on the court, but we just talk so much off the court. So that's why the bond is so strong, I feel, between us, because it's not like I just see him at practice and, it's high and by, and we talk off the court so much, so the connection between us is really strong.
Okay, so let's talk about your game now. And, again, you're an exciting player to watch, averaging 18 points this season, in the top 9 in scoring in the MEC. But where do you see your game needs to continue to grow more and more if you want to continue to play basketball, whether it be in the States or you go play overseas somewhere? Where do you think that needs to happen the most?
I probably always say just continue to be a really good defender. That's the one, because, I'm not 6'4", 6'5", so as a 6'1" guard, I got to be able to defend. And I would also say shooting the 3-ball, which I've been doing pretty well this year. I'm shooting like 39, so that's a career high for me right now. So just continue to be able to shoot the 3-ball. Okay,
so I mentioned it. Let's talk about it. What's next for you? You're a senior. I could definitely assume that is starting to float around in your mind of what's gonna happen next for you in your life. Have you thought about it yet? Have you given it much consideration? Just walk me through that.
I mean, at the end of the year last year, I hit the transfer portal, looking to go Division I, but had some unfinished business here at Glenville, so I came back. But I'm not saying I am hitting the portal after the year, but I'm focused on right now trying to win the MEC. But after the portal, me trying to get my dreams of going Division I is there, then I might take it. But I don't know for 100% fact right now, but that's just what it's taking me.
So degree-wise, what are you thinking about getting your degree in?
I'm majoring in sports management right now.
Okay, so what would you want to do with that after basketball's over and you're just trying to settle down?
After, I definitely want to play professionally, but after that, I'd love to come back and coach, especially learning from somebody like Coach Caldwell. I just love the game of basketball, so I don't think I definitely want to coach. I definitely want to stay around the game of basketball.
I can definitely see you being a spokesperson for like a pepperoni roll company, or maybe even Tutors for that matter. Since you said earlier, hey, the breakfast menu, I'm always there. I'm pretty much like it pretty much sounds like you're like a loyal customer at that point.
Yeah, I eat there. I think too much. Like I said, too much. I need to stop. I need to stop.
So a couple more questions, and I want to start here. So when you look at this team is broken down into a lot of different pieces, a lot of good pieces as well. Mm-hmm. But one guy that came back that is always going to be a high level scorer, that's John Williams. Mm-hmm. Talk about your relationship with John. What's that like for you, and how do you guys sort of work alongside each other?
That's my boy. We both from Georgia, so Georgia got hoopers, so you already know he can hoop. But John, he's just a killer. He can score on all three levels. He's the best scorer in the country, in my opinion. So, it just makes my life a whole lot easier when I have him, as my backcourt mate, and I can just give him the ball, he can go get a bucket. And another thing about him, he's a leader too. He's one of our leaders. He actually, when we break down in the huddle, he says he does a little breakdown most of the time. He's a leader just like me. So I love having him on the team.
Would you consider you guys yourselves like a 1-2 punch that people need to watch out for in the second half of the season?
Yeah, I think we're the best backcourt in the MEC, but
Hey, you heard it here first. You heard it here first on the podcast. So that's all that matters.
Yeah. Facts.
So last one from me, and I want to talk about this young group. So you guys, I'm looking through your roster right now, and a lot of this roster is compiled of sophomores and freshmen, and some guys that haven't even played yet. But when you look at this young core that Coach Caldwell brought in, is how this roster is broken up among the underclassmen. Who are some guys in that underclassmen class that you think they can make a name for themselves come a year or two?
First player I'd probably say is Tommy Williams. Dude, just can fly to shoot the ball, can put it on the ground, can guard, when he really wants to lock in and guard. So I feel like Tommy's going to be an all MEC player next year, in my opinion. Another player I would say Gus Eddie. Gus is one of the players, if you look at him, he doesn't really fill up the stat sheet, but he's one of the players on our team that he just does everything that every team needs. He's going to set screens, he's going to take charges, he's going to talk. So I say him. Luke Larose is another one. He can really play. A person that's redshirting, I think he's going to be really good. His name is Kirk Pence. I feel like he's going to be really good. Shooter from Kentucky. So that's another one. And it's a few more. It's a few. I could say really the whole team, in my opinion, honestly. But, that's just a few to name.
Well, Nick, I appreciate your time. I love this conversation with you. I got to pick your brain a little bit. And best of luck the rest of the way in the second half of the season. And we'll talk soon.
All right. I appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
All right. Thank you.
Yep. We just spoke with Nick Edwards from Glenville State. Now let's transition into what else is going on inside the MEC the rest of this week. And we'll start on the men's basketball side. And just to give a little bit more context with Nick, because again, Nick had a tremendous week. He filled the box score, or filled the stat sheet, I should say, for Glenville after they went 2-0 last week. And they beat number 14 Fairmont State, and he had 23 points, 10 assists, 6 rebounds, and 4 steals. So again, my guy was all around the court, being who he does, doing what he does, and being who he is on the court. Never shies away from competition. Again, I've seen him play a lot, and he's a guy definitely keeping an eye on throughout the rest of the season, along with his teammate, John Williams, who's averaging 23 points right now this season. And, just looking through the rest of this list, you get a lot of guys that are starting to get more and more comfortable as they start getting into the end of the first half of the season, heading into the second half of the season. And, front of this program, Isaiah Sanders, he's at the top of the MEC in men's basketball and points, scoring right around 24 points per game. So as he continues to develop, watch out for Fairmont State. I know that sounds almost cliche to say just because of how good they've been lately, but when you look at this Fairmont State team has all the pieces together. It's just a matter of putting it all together and being consistent with. I know Coach Tim Koenig will do a tremendous job in the second half of the season in getting them prepared. A team that I've spoken with before, that's Notre Dame College under Mark Richmond. Coach Richmond has done a tremendous job at turning that program around. They were in the bottom half last season, middle to the bottom of the pack last season in the MEC. Now you're starting to see a resurgence from them as they're 8-4 on the season, 5-1 in conference play, tied for first in the conference right beside West Liberty, 4-1 at home, 3-2 on the road, 1-1 at neutral site games. So as we go into the second half of the season, you always look at the first half and see who do these teams beat in regards to non-conference. Well, Notre Dame's made a case for themselves, 8-4 so far, again, 5-1 in conference. But can they keep that momentum up into the second half of the season? That will yet to be determined as well. And just quickly going through the rest of this list, looking at the top 5, West Liberty, always going to be there. Coach Ben Howell does a tremendous job of making sure that his guys are always ready and are consistent as well. Nothing short of what I should see from them in the second half of the season. We just spoke about Notre Dame. You see Dwayne Osborne front of this program as well. He's done a tremendous job. A lot of different guys scoring the ball this year, which is always going to be pivotal come the second half of the season. So you got Eddie Colbert. You got Lamont McMahon, a guy that's been there pretty much since water, or even, whenever man first walked the earth, for that matter. He's been there a long time. We spoke about Fairmont State. And then another team, Alderson Broad, is still right there, 6-4 on the season, 3-3 in conference play, 4-0 at home. How can you defend home court in the second half of the season? That's still to be determined with this AB team under Coach Stephen Dye. But that is another team as well, as we're looking at top 5 in the standings in the men's basketball side as well. And here in just one second, we'll talk about women's basketball. Women's basketball now, and women's basketball in the MEC always seems to be competitive. Just like the men's side, the women's side always seems to be competitive, top-notch level with both players and coaches as well. And, looking through this list, Glenville State, right there, runner-up in the conference championship game a season ago, fell to the University of Charleston. And Glenville State's playing with a chip on their shoulder. That's to say the least. Coach Kim Stevens joined us on last week's program to discuss the season. And she just said being more consistent is vital as they continue to move throughout the rest of the season. And once they resume conference play come January 5th, that's going to be important as well for this Pioneers team to not only get back into the conference tournament as a top seed, but also back into the NCAA tournament as well. So watch out for Glenville State as they continue to wreak havoc in the Mountain East Conference. Right there in second place, 5-1 in conference play, 7-3 overall is Fairmont State. Fairmont State seems to be a team that always is consistent, just like the men's team. And they got some players on that team. They really do. They're not going to shy away from competition. That's a proven fact. Just looking at them, strength of schedule wise, 7-3, like I said, good structure as well of what they got coming in. Individually, you look at their top leading scorer, Alyssa D'Angelo, averaging right around 17 points per game. And then right there behind her is Sierra Kochman, 16 points per game. So the two of them as the lone double-figure scores for this Fairmont State team, that's going to be a team to watch out for. You could very easily see 2 championship games or even 3 championship games for that reason, because Glenville State and Fairmont State have already played once this season. So you could potentially see 3 conference championship games all in one season. I know that's a very cliche thing to say, but these two teams are playing with a lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm. So I like both of these teams as well in the women's side of the Mountain East Conference. And they're also right there 1-2 in scoring. Glenville State's averaging 99 points per game. Fairmont State's averaging 85 points per game. And they're getting it well offensively, but defensively, Glenville State's there only holding teams to 67 points per game. But then you look down towards the bottom, and Fairmont State's right there in 10th, allowing 77 points per game. So can Fairmont State flip the script and allow less points? That's still to be determined as well. And then just a quick shout out for the women's basketball player of the week in the Mountain East Conference, Zay Earns from West Liberty. What a week she had. A junior from Lubbock, Texas, averaged 21 points, 9 rebounds, and shot 85% from the field, helping the Hilltoppers pick up 3 wins last week as they continue on through the season. A quick look at West Liberty, what they got going on so far: 9-3 overall this season, 4-2 in conference play, 6-1 at home, and 3-1 on the road. So between the top 4 teams, West Liberty's second in wins between those top 4 teams, between Glenville State, Fairmont State, Notre Dame College, and West Liberty as well. Well, with that being said, this will conclude episode 6 of MEC Roundup. Again, I'm your host, Taylor Kennedy. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you again for rating, reviewing us. Always find us. We are now on Apple Podcasts and Spotify as well. So you can now find us on anything or anywhere you find your podcast. We are still on YouTube, but go check out our website. We just have a brand new design. We have a whole new layout for our website. So go to mountaneast.org. Follow all of our social media pages on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Subscribe to our YouTube. And as always, you can follow me on Twitter at Taylor_Kennedy7 for all the latest regarding this podcast. And with that being said, I will catch you all next time on episode 7 of Hoops Across the Mountain State. Merry Christmas to everybody, and I'll talk to you all next week.